featured in a short.
Hello, welcome to Feature and Short, an intimate documentary-style film event that features a short and long-form movie and discussion. My name is Justin Joseph Hall, owner of Fourwind Films. So this week we have an Emmy-nominated editor who works for Vice. Her name is Ilaria Polsonetti, and we worked together a long time ago at Market Road Films in post-production. Everyone sings Ilaria's praises. She is thoughtful, collaborative, she's always nice, easy to talk to, and brings a new perspective and style to anything that she works on. Whether that's music videos or now at Vice, her editing in news reporting and documentaries. So we have been trying to get her on the show for a while. Anyway, today, Ilaria brought two documentaries. Her first one she didn't work on. This is a New York Times op-doc or opinion documentary called Dulce in Colombia.
That is beautiful, but very raw material. You'll see there's no music. There's just natural sounds to it. The story is just like, it's a little window in somebody's life. And I think it's so powerful. In 10 minutes, you just enter a whole other world and you're absorbed in it, and the cinematography is out of this world and in a place that it's pretty remote. You know, this is what I would love to do in my life.
After watching Dulce, we had a short discussion.
It's such a fascinating community, a community that lives on like shell hunting. Like, I didn't even know that was like a thing. I mean, obviously it's not an easy life, but it also feels just like a different world, a different way of life, and very fascinating. And at the same time, this very beautiful relationship between mother and daughter. Yeah. And it's true, this kid needs to learn how to swim because that's very tied to her survival in this place that it's surrounded by water. And I think this is clearly a rite of passage for kids there. There's so many layers to it, but at the same time, very, very simple story, but it's, I think, more powerful because of that. The characters, they're so comfortable on camera that I don't think there were many people shooting this. Like, it must have been, 2 people, maybe 3, but, a good DP who knows what to do and knows how to, record sound. He can do, 1 day of just recording sound after.
That reminds me, I saw this Jungles in Paris in there. All their movies are like this, where they go to a very isolated community, usually in the countryside. They don't move the camera a ton. It's a lot of still images.
Oh, I love that.
making it look nice, and then they finish it right and do the sound right. But I think they usually go with a small team, like 2 people or something.
At Vice, we work with like a variety of stories. And, you'll get to work on war zone stuff. And then the next day you're, cutting an interview that was done in DC. And let me tell you, the DP that goes to the war zone, always much better than the guy who's in DC shooting an interview that should be the simplest thing ever. The sound is wrong, the camera is wrong, there's always something wrong. The DP who is in, Yemen and the bombs are like falling down around him, does the best stuff. He's by himself, you don't need a second camera, the audio is always perfect. Some people are just very good at their job and they just can do it by themselves.
Do your pieces have like a host still? Because I thought
we do mostly, they're hosted. Okay. We always have a correspondent. Rarely it's without a correspondent. And if it's without a correspondent, it's usually a very short news piece. And I actually don't work on those much anymore. Okay. So it's usually, Vice's style is very much correspondent based. You go on a trip with them. You go see the world through their eyes. They're usually very, relatable correspondents. So you want to be their friend. You want to go see what they're seeing. You want to hear what they have to say.
Yeah. A little. Did you see Beasts of
Southern Wild?
Yeah. It's a similarity in the sense of the sound.
The next film that we have was a documentary that Ilaria worked on for quite a long time called Black South Rising, Inside Charlotte's Mostly Black and Brown Government. And in the documentary, Ilaria put together a very dense, emotional piece of political changes found in Charlotte, North Carolina after the police shooting of Keith Lamont Scott, which had a ripple effect, getting many more people of color into the local government. The film was released just after George Floyd's death last year, and we had the pleasure of viewing it now. During the film, we passed out cups of sweet iced tea and dry Fruit Loops. After the film finished, we talked about the piece.
Oh, fuck, man. Oh, thank you for this. Thank you for inviting me to here. Thank you for being a part of this.
It was pretty great to work with this group of people because we had worked together before, so they really trusted me as an editor and kind of let me do my thing, and we worked together a lot on the story. Like, we did story production together, so it was they gave me a lot of time to just be with the footage, which is rare, and come out with ideas on how to make the story work and move and
present it the way that we just got to watch it.
Yeah. It was a great team to work with. You've seen the correspondent in this case, Alzo Slade. He's amazing. Like,
he's really cute.
Apart from being
No,
incredibly
really
handsome, the sexiest voice around.
No, he's really great.
But he is the sweetest person on earth, and as you can see, he has this ability to make anybody very comfortable. The story wouldn't have worked without him. Like, he just puts everybody at ease. Black, white, it doesn't matter. Like, he put himself into it. And then the two producers, Mava, which she actually went to school with Braxton, and they went to high school together for like a year. And so she was following him on Facebook and saw all of this happen on Facebook because he was like doing a Facebook Live of protests in Charlotte. So she started following him and then saw that he was elected and was just like, what is this story? This is pretty interesting. And Braxton is, such an interesting person, incredibly smart. Then we had a producer, Lyle, who is from Charlotte. So that was very helpful too in terms of like understanding the city better, understanding who we should talk to, who were the real players. Most of it was done during the pandemic. They were like my pandemic buddies, even through like video, like, Zoom calls and whatever, because we were talking so much about this and the story and how to make it work and what goes where. And, obviously there were so many scenes that had to be cut out. The intro about George Floyd, we added the very 2 days before this aired.
Oh, really?
Because
To reflect what's happening.
Because we had this thing ready and we were just like waiting for the right time to publish it. Sometimes you just have stories that are not, they're not timely. At the time, this was not timely. And then the George Floyd story happened and we were like, okay, we need to get it out there. And so we attached this part, and Alzo was actually in Minneapolis for it anyway. So, we understood how valuable this story was. Even now, after I haven't seen it in a year, I still think it's pretty accurate.
It is.
I think one of the guys, Perry, he's the guy who talks about school. He has one of the best lines in this where he says it's not racism and it's not about saying slurs. There's policies and laws, and we're seeing it in Georgia, what they're doing with voter restrictions and stuff like that. That's all part of the same problem. I mean, if you're not given the opportunity to rise, you'll never rise. And
so when you guys were sitting down, going over the pre-production meeting that you said, have you guys already shot something, or what's the
I got involved. Usually the editors come in after, but in this specific case and in a few other projects I was on, I was brought in at the very beginning, which was awesome. I was at the very first meeting when they hadn't shot anything, and this was still an idea. And I got very much involved in the story production side of things, and they were shooting as I was editing. Okay. So at some point, obviously, I was sending them notes on what I needed, what they should ask the interviewee, and.
So when you're creating the story, do you do paper cuts? How do you work with the other producers on a piece like this?
It kind of depends on who the producer is, what the relationship is. Usually producers that don't know me well, they will be like, this is the script, this is what I want, and that's it. But then producers who know me and know the way I work, you'll tell me what you want out of a scene, and I'll bring it out. And that's what I like to do, is just go in and find the bites and make them work. And the best question to ask is like, what do you think was the best moment? And sometimes it doesn't translate on camera. For them, it's like, that moment was amazing. And then you see it and like the camera is like on a completely other person. And you're like, well, that doesn't look good. But usually you ask them, what are the best scenes? And I love to start with those just to, get the energy going and just be like, well, this is the best we have. And then you build everything around the best. And I like to ask them, what are you trying to get out of this interview? And it's also good for the producers because sometimes they do go in and don't really think about what they want from an interview or like a scene they're trying to build, and it's good for them to think about it. And luckily they gave us so much time to work on it. That's, not usually the case. They were trying to see if this long form style could work, and they kind of used us as guinea pigs, and it worked out because
worked out.
I've done 3 more of these long form pieces after, so they seem to like the way it works. I thought it was so fascinating to see all these different characters, even Braxton, who, started out as this civil rights activist, kind of turning into more of a politician. We're really upset about something. And now in power, oh, wait, we actually, we can't do everything we wanted to do. And right. That's also very interesting. I think, the Obama era in the U.S. was fascinating in that sense, too. Because you would think, a black president would change the U.S. And of course, that's not possible. You can't. One person can't change the whole country. And that's what's interesting. It's progress, and so it's interesting to see what the city has tried to do and what this black leadership is trying to do. And they have good allies. It's just like an interesting portrait of one city in the U.S., but I think a very representative city.
Very representative.
Thank you for listening to this edition of Feature in a Short. If you would like to see Ilaria's film, you can find it on YouTube on the Vice channel. In the forecast to look forward to, even though it has already been published, please go and listen. There is an interview with me on the podcast by Austin Lugo called With Nothing to Say. If you check out episode 290, you can hear our nearly hour-long conversation about movies and things from my youth, things about my parents and my background, and how that folded into my work life and the way Austin and I enjoy cinema. So please go check it out, subscribe to his podcast, and give us both ratings on wherever you listen to your podcast. And for credits on this episode, we want to say thank you to Brian Trahan, who does the additional music, as well as the theme song for the season under the name Sun Nectar. In addition, we'd like to thank our line producer, Davi, for helping us set up the event. We will be taking a break due to my first child being born. I don't know when we'll be up again, hopefully at the end of August or a little bit later. And with that, I will talk at you soon. Thank you. Bye.